Greetings, Star Citizens, and welcome to Flight Deck. This is a weekly podcast about Star Citizen and other gamer culture topics. I'm your host, Link Static MDK, and with me, as always, is Paper Thin.
Hello.
And he is sick today, so if you hear coughing, that's because he's sick.
Sorry.
He's very broken up about it, too, I assure you. So, today's topics we have Around the Verse, episode 35, the design post on weapon mount updates, Inside CIG, the music of Pedro Camacho, Star Citizen South by Southwest video montage, Galactic Guide Helios System, 10 for the Producers, episode 4, OP.NET Manned Turrets, and CIG Star Citizen from South by Southwest 2015. This is the video that Space Bum Chronicles posted, so we're going to be talking about that as well. Well, you ready to jump right into it?
Oh, you know it.
All right, so we have Around the Verse episode 35. This one was kind of long. It was a 43-minute video in 6 seconds. Start off with the Empire Report, which is the correct way to do the Empire Report.
We will continue to emphasize
We will
this.
continue to say this, yeah, every time. So they have, in the Empire Report, 3 stories, like always. First one was 5 ways to stop data theft. It was dealing with, data thievery. I mean, it's a self-explanatory
Is that what it
topic.
is?
Yeah, it's like, it's dealing with all
How
that
do
Drake
you?
Herald stuff, so,
Yeah. Yep.
cool. Then they had a second one is Vandal, killing children. So it's a dangerous teen trend. So I'm kind of wondering, is this like ISIS with like all those teenagers who go to join ISIS? Is this like all those teenagers going to try and join the Vandal? The Vandal are like, what the hell are you doing? And just killing them?
No, I assume it's something like, kids who go and try and knock out people when they're not looking and then run away. And then, the vandal don't put up with that shit, so get
Like,
killed.
oh god. It's probably like kids stealing their parents' spaceships and like going for a joyride through Vandal space and getting killed. That's probably what it is.
That's probably right.
Yeah. Anyway, then we have the Xenu Cuisine, which is a hot new restaurant. I have no idea where it's located, but I hope it's in game. Like I hope they mention stuff that's in game in the Empire Report, so that like when we finally get to in game, it's like, oh, I remember that in the Empire Report.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I do hope they keep this stuff in there, and because it's cool, and the more detail the universe has, the more lived in and real it'll feel.
Like, I hope they end up taking the Empire Report and just making it like a weekly thing on its own eventually, once the game drops. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, in fiction, this is what happened this week.
Yeah, and then they could report on stuff players did too.
Right, or even
That
if
would
it's
be.
like a monthly show, that would probably be better actually, because weekly would kind
Yeah.
of be tough to do if not a lot's going on.
Yeah, that's true.
So, who knows? So many good things to say about that segment that they need to keep, definitely.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then from there they went to the intro and news portion where they pretty much did like a PAX highlight reel they talked about, which we'll be talking
Blah
about later, yada yada. Retaliator highlight reel, blah,
blah.
all stuff we'll be talking about. And then they did mention that the February monthly report is out, so check that out if you haven't had a chance yet. I have not, so
I
I'm
haven't either.
telling other people to go do it, but I haven't done it myself, so I guess I'm a hypocrite.
Surprised.
Aw. Well, and then they went to Spectrum News and Around the Verse, which is frankly why people watch. They had Santa Monica, California first up, talking about the Drake Herald. It's currently being modeled, looked into being a little bit more symmetrical than the initial design had it. Um, which, okay, cool. I mean, I still think it's the ugliest ship, but I also
Oh
don't
yeah.
care that it's ugly. If it's not meant
Oh
to be like a racing ship. It's not meant to be like a combat ship. So the fact
yeah.
that it's ugly doesn't really bother me.
No, although I still don't like the Merlin, but you know, it is pretty ugly too.
Well, yeah, but the Merlin's like not something you're going to be flying around all the time. It's a short
That's
range,
true.
you know. Eh.
That's true. Yeah.
Besides, I don't own one, so haha. That's
It
yours.
came with the
It
constellation.
came with it. I used to own one, but then I got wise and got rid of that thing.
I wonder if we'll be able to replace it in the future. With either drones
You
or
know,
a different one.
you might be able to make it look passable with like a paint job too, and certain
Yeah,
So,
the current like pinkish purple paint job they used to show it in didn't really do it any favors.
well, it really stands out with that at least.
Yeah,
Not
that's
that
true.
standing out's always a good thing. Yeah.
Generally not.
Yeah. Well, and then they talked about the Retaliator being used as the multi-crew test bed and all the stuff going in with that. So,
Yep.
yay.
Yay.
Uh, and then they're on a push right now for 1.1, gain all those changes out. Cool.
Yay.
This is nothing like new that we wouldn't know because,
Right.
frankly, they've been talking about it for a month now.
Yep.
Still doing with balancing changes going in. And then they did mention the interview that Gamers Nexus did with Chris on kind of their own instancing system, which we've talked about a little bit in the past in the show, where it's like, oh, this is how it's kind of working. So if he goes more in depth in that, I haven't had a chance to watch that video. So if he ends up going more in depth, that'd be probably
Yeah.
worth checking out, especially if you want to know how the larger battles and stuff are going to work.
Right. I watched this video last week, and I'd already totally forgot that Chris did an interview with Gamer Nexus about that. Now I really want to go back and read it.
Well, Gamers Nexus, I feel, is doing a pretty good job of like cornering the market on Star Citizen news. Like they tend to come out with a lot of the videos. They come out with a lot of the like interviews and stuff like that.
Right.
So good on them for getting an interview about something that a lot of people care about, which is the zone instancing. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Then let's talk about Ilphonic. They were talking about the Astro Arena race that they kind of did at PAX and kind of like lessons learned and using the feedback that they got from everybody to kind of clean up and iron out their issues, which
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so good. This is like, I know they had mentioned that they hadn't got a chance to put everything that they wanted to in, like a lot of the movement and how that looks and so forth. But like, if they're getting actual player feedback from like this early a level, it's just going to get way better, earlier.
Yeah, I read up on Reddit some guys who had gone and played the FPS at PAX, and overall they were pretty impressed. Some of the things they didn't like was they were surprised by the time to kill, and they weren't sure if they were just constantly missing that badly, and they were FPS veterans
Right.
like CS:GO players.
Mhm.
So they were a little surprised by the time to kill. What else did they say? Uh, the gate game, like the one where you gotta get to the enemy's gate,
Yeah.
the space one.
Mhm.
They said it's too easy if there's enough people to just
Push
go
through.
for the gate and
Yeah.
just not even care about trying to kill anybody or anything.
Well, because
Stuff like that.
you can't kill him quick enough is the
Right.
yeah. I do feel like the aim isn't quite up to snuff because like from watching the playthrough, it seemed like it took way too much to try and kill somebody like and people were like looking down sights and stuff. So
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and to be completely honest, like the one thing that's kind of been like nagging me at the back of my head about the FPS is, would we really still be using iron sights on most guns in the future? Like, shouldn't we have?
Well,
I mean, I know we have the HUD interface with your helmet that you can use, but you
so
gotta have something.
so here's my thing about that though. Would we really even still be using people in the future for combat? You know, it would all
That's
be
true.
robots that wouldn't even look like anything bipedal at all with giant
Yeah,
targeting computers and laser cannons and stuff like that. And like your ships wouldn't be flown by you, it would be all AI.
for sure. No,
So
that's a good point. That's a really good point. All right, I retract my complaint
and
about iron sights, even though I know that eventually you'll be able to upgrade all your guns with sights of whatever choosing you want and stuff.
well,
So
and think about this, like Firefly, what did they use? They were using like regular looking guns and that's way in the future too. And like Star Wars, they're using,
that's
pretty
true.
gun-like looking guns, and then I think Star
Yeah.
Trek's the only one that's like branching out with weird guns. But I hate the guns in Star Trek. The phasers, they're terrible.
Oh, I know. I know.
I
They're
mean,
weird.
the only time the phasers looked good was when they switched to those rifles that they started using. So
Right in First Contact.
right, and then they used them everywhere else too. So
Right, because they were like, oh yeah, these are
these
actually kind of badass.
these are way cooler than the stupid little sticks that we used. Yeah, so.
Yeah, the little like handheld remote control. Like, who's scared of that?
That said, I still, when I was a kid, would like sit there with a remote going pew pew.
Oh, I know.
Because
I did too. Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time.
whatever.
The remote control was a phaser.
Because the beam is the coolest part of the weapon. The weapon itself looks stupid, but the beam looks cool. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Nah, I'm with you on that. But yeah, okay. So anyway, complaint retracted.
Oh yay! I totally get your point though. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Ilphonic.
I think we
Huge
covered everything.
tangent. Huge
I think we're
tangent.
good.
Oh no, mocap is being implemented.
Oh,
That we
that's
were
right.
talking about that too. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I think Chris even mentions later on that he's going to be flying out to Europe in April to do a ton of mocap for Squadron 42. So that's like
Awesome.
a movie development. It's like
Well,
it's gonna
it
be
is.
awesome. It's just
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
mean
awesome.
they're basically setting up a movie studio like as well with all of this. So I mean, like, because
Yeah,
they bought that new space in LA, and they're gonna have an entire section of it dedicated to just making
dude.
videos and
i-
producing content.
If they need mocap of a guy just getting beat the crap out of, I will be that guy who gets beat the crap out of. I just to be in it, that would
There
be
you go.
so fun. Like,
I don't care what they need. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm in.
I would totally be like, all right, you need me to get hit by like a sledgehammer? Let's do this.
Let's
I
do
can't
this.
promise you several takes,
You're the
but
Homer Simpson of Star Citizen. You get shot in the gut with a cannon and
uh,
just fucking take it.
that'd be great. I wouldn't be able to give them more than one take, so hopefully they get the good shots.
Yeah, just get it the first time, please.
Yep. Well, and then they move over to Austin, Texas, working on VFX and demo for the South by Southwest. So, yeah, blah. I didn't really see any great demos coming out of South by Southwest. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I
The
didn't. Yeah.
the montage looked really cool, and we had a lot of cool stuff in
Yeah.
that. So we'll talk about that. But
Yeah, we'll later.
yeah. And then they're also doing R&D on the mining gameplay, so it sounds like we might get mining gameplay quicker than we were thinking, I was thinking that
That'd
wasn't
be
going to be
sweet.
until like next year, but it might be coming out end of this year by the sounds of it.
Well, you would think it'd pretty much have to be ready for the PU alpha, right?
Well,
So
yeah, I guess.
yeah,
I don't know. It depends on what they have you doing in the PU Alpha, because it didn't sound like it was going
true.
to be everything right away.
Right.
So,
That's true.
yeah. And then the Moby Glass is also being worked on to make it look cool. That's like,
Yay.
he went on for a long time talking about the Moby Glass, but that was what I got out of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of uh, jargon. I don't know. Is that the right word?
Sure.
That
We'll
in
use
that
that word.
conversation. Yeah. Where I was just kind of
Texturing,
like my
etc.,
eyes just kind
etc.,
of
and you're
glossed over.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and then they cut to Foundry 42 in the UK, where they are working on the multiplayer free flight, landing, taking other ships. So, like, if you land, you can hop into your buddy's ship even if you don't own it, and then fly around in it, which is so cool.
Yay.
So good. I wonder if we can like game the system and both get in a Super Hornet then, because you can get in the backseat of a Super Hornet.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, there is a way to like glitch the game out right now that I saw
Yeah.
somebody did on the internet where they got into the back seat
mhm.
of a Super Hornet, but I don't think you can do anything from the back seat. I think you just sit there. But hey, you get
Well-
to come along for the ride.
One thing to try. You hop in a back seat, your friend hops in the pilot seat, you take off, and then when he ejects, does he eject both or just the front, or how's that work?
Yeah, is this going to be a Top Gun situation? Are we going to lose Goose?
No, Goose! And then we have to have like a montage for 10 freaking minutes of Goose.
Yeah,
And just...
oh god, I know. I used to love that movie, and I went back and watched it like 2 years ago,
So
and I was like, this movie just like isn't that great.
it's still got a great soundtrack. That's
It
what
does.
I'll say for it, and it's got some great classic moments. But like the flexing when we're playing volleyball,
oh my God, I
volleyball,
know.
Oh,
I know. I'll never not be a fan of Danger Zone though. So
Danger Zone. Yeah, gonna take you right. Anyway, also Foundry 42 is working on the REC credits. Those are going in, and then the Gladius is flight ready with squibs. We've talked about that, so excitement. Get hyped.
I know.
Get hyped. Then we had our favorite segment ever, Bug
Segment?
Smashers.
Are you just gonna call it a segment?
Segment? I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I was trying to think of like a funny way to introduce it and point out that I hate its guts at the same time, but I got nothing, so. Bug Smashers, for those that want to skip it, is from 1641 to 2718.
That's how courteous we are. We
We're
we give you
we're
the
so
times.
courteous. We sit there in pain so you don't have to.
It's true.
So this week's bug was the AI missing from Vandal Swarm. So he went into this long, in-depth explanation about how the entity IDs are nulled out, so the flow graphs that spawn the units with those entities don't work, and that happened when they imported the Retaliator and all of its flow graphs. Done. Oh, and one thing I did take out of it that was kind of interesting was designers can design ships like they design levels. So that's cool.
Yeah, that was actually kind of cool. That was the one part of it that I thought was pretty interesting. The rest of it, I've done some programming, not a lot, and I just like my eyes just kind of glossed over during this, and I was like, I don't understand half of what you're trying to tell me.
Yes, you know what
But
an if statement and a while loop is.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It's like, okay, dude.
I've done I've done considerably more programming than you, and I didn't care. So yeah,
Well, I'm glad I don't know,
yeah,
was not that entertained then.
there you go. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then we went from that to the MVP segment where we had Nero and Maricus. I assume I'm pronouncing those correct. I don't even know if I spelt them correctly. But they were showing a glaive hijacking video that they did, which was actually really
Oh,
funny and really
sweet.
cool. So it's like a guy flying around in a glaive, which is
That was so cool.
yeah. I like the way that the Vandal guns look too. So I'm hoping like after we kill some Vandal, we can salvage them and put them on our ships because they look so cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, the thing I found really interesting about this was that you can it's even possible to hijack these ships. Like I wouldn't even thought to have done it because I figured the AI was just like in control of the whole ship, not that they actually modeled a pilot to go in and do what, you do with, the rest of the ships in Star Citizen. I didn't realize they were that far ahead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. It took. I don't know how he stole it, but that's awesome that he did.
Yeah, I don't know how he did it either. But
Like you would almost have to like perfectly. I don't even know because if you head cap him, then that destroys the ship too. And I don't.
yeah, I'm not sure how he did it. I have to go back and watch the video. I thought I watched it, but maybe I didn't.
I only caught the segment that the MVP guy did. I
I think
didn't see the video itself.
Yeah, I might have been confusing it with the guys who managed to get two people into a Super Hornet.
Well, and then they also had the Black Star Initiative org that they highlighted. It's a security organization that does security for high-end ships and stuff like that. And I thought that was cool, actually.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Dang it.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
that's a cool org. If you're into that, go check them out.
Yeah. I hope there's like kind of contractor work that organizations do too. So like they hire people that aren't in their org to do stuff. That would be
That'd be cool.
sweet.
Yeah, I
Because I
hope
could
people do
totally see
that.
us doing that all the time. Like
Yeah,
we have a mission that requires more people than we have. Oh, let's contract out and see who we can get. So
for sure. And I think that'll totally be possible. I mean, it sounds like it's so open-ended that that stuff should just happen naturally, right?
you'd hope.
Yo.
Hope. Well, and then they went to customer service, where they are almost done with their mountain of tickets. So yay! And they've hired two new customer service reps in the UK. So apparently, like their demand has gotten to the point where they just need more people. And
Crazy
then
Europeans.
yeah, yeah. And then they have new swag, which are hats coming out, which I might get actually,
Yeah,
because
no, I liked it.
and then the old
I want
swag
it.
is on the way. So
I mean,
look out for
I
that.
want I want to wear my Star Citizen Admiral's hat, while I'm flying, so I'm, feel important and awesome,
Yeah, but
even
will
though I'm
your
not.
Oculus fit with the Star
Oh,
Citizen hat
ooh,
on? I mean, these are the things you need to consider.
it won't.
Maybe you can do it backwards so you look like a douchebag.
Too late. I already do.
Wait. You mean I have a brim on the hat, so I'm not going to use. Why don't you just wear a beanie, people? Seriously, I never understand that.
I love the picture that floats around on the internet from time to time of the dude wearing the backwards hat while holding the hand up over his eyes, and they're like, "Dude,
Dude, just turn your hat under. He's like at a baseball game or something.
yeah,
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 I've
yeah."
seen that one. Oh man. Well,
No, I
then
will not. I will not wear hats backwards. No, no.
I,
Anyway,
I've done it once, literally because I was like painting outside and I didn't want to get sunburned on my neck and stuff like that. That's the
that
only
actually
time I've
makes
done it.
sense. That's legit though. That's a real reason.
Yeah, and then you know what happened when I was done painting? I turned it back around. It was crazy. Crazy.
You are a freaking trendsetter,
I
sir.
know, man. Crazy. Well, and then we had the interview with Jeremy Masker, who's the director of game operations, which was kind of interesting, but at the same time, not. I don't think it was their
Yeah.
best interview, but I didn't think it was their worst
Well,
either. You know?
yeah, another former Blizzard employee,
Yeah,
which is cool,
jumping
which
ship
I
while he
like.
can. What?
Well,
What?
I don't know about that. I mean, you and I, we pretty much love Heroes of the Storm. Well, I do. I
Well,
don't know about you, but
I am I am warm feelings, but I'm so jaded about World of Warcraft that like overall I just hate Blizzard as a company. Even though I've played like most of their games
yeah, right.
and like enjoyed most of their games, I'm still jaded to that point.
All right,
It's
well
like it's like when
let the
you've been
salt
bit
roll.
by a dog, you know, and then like you have this like hesitancy around dogs the rest of your life and you just can't
Um,
help it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that analogy. I get that.
There you go. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about Jeremy Masker. So first question he was asked was, "What do you do?" like, and he's like, "Well, basically, I'm an engineering manager for our operations team, and that's it. You know,
Yeah,
that's in a
yeah.
nutshell." Then he was asked about his key performance indicators, and like as soon as I heard that, I was just like, "Oh God, I hate key performance indicators."
I'm
I
so
think
glad I don't have to deal with it.
I feel that key performance indicators exist only to piss me off.
They used to exist in my first job I had where I was doing, like tech support from like the phones where people called and you helped them. So like
Hmm.
I hated them too because
Yeah.
it always ticked me off because I was like always the top of it and like in my company I was always the best and then I was the first one to get like laid off. Nah, I'm joking.
I don't. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so they
Anyway,
don't currently have any key performance indicators because there's really no point, but they will probably add more later on. Right now, their only like metric that they go by is does stuff work and is it cool? There you
right.
go. Then he talked a little bit about how the instance is going to work and like different ways they can make it work, and he gave the example of subdividing by the geography. So like it will help with the overall load times if you kind of split the work between multiple servers. So, yay.
Yay.
And he's like, then they asked, what's your biggest persistent universe bottleneck? And he gave the answer that's kind of obvious is the client.
Yep.
you know, we can make our system as good as possible, but it doesn't matter if your client's system sucks. So, you know,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's yeah. They've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
That's going to be their biggest bottleneck. So
Yeah.
not
Well,
too
and
surprising.
then the thing that they're also looking out for is player congregation habits is going to be kind of one of their main challenges. So they don't want everybody to hang out on Terra and Earth and all those places. They kind of want to spread them all over the galaxy. And what I'm
Right.
thinking is I probably will hang out in Terra and Earth like early on, but then I'll find like the planet I love and just kind of that will be my home base and I'll do stuff around there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, to start out with, you pretty much are forced into kind of the, more safe
Beginner.
areas.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
beginner
Exactly.
UE. Yeah.
Beginner. Yeah. And then after that, I usually find somewhere that I really like, that I just like the look of it and the feel of it, and then I just kind of hang out there.
Yeah, well, the Helios system that we're going to be talking about sounds like a good place.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
We'll establish a base on that space station orbiting Helios 2 and just like keep fighting the UE until we're dead.
We'll build a sea lab
Under the
underwater.
sea.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, and then during the outro, they were talking about rolling out Star System 1.1. Hopefully, in the next few days. That made me laugh because this was like 5 days ago. Uh, God. Well, and then they also mentioned the Free Fly Week, where if you haven't checked out the Free Fly Week, I totally encourage you to do it. I tried out with paper on Sunday a couple of ships
You
that we hadn't
tried.
tried, but then like there were server issues, and we were just like, okay, screw it. That said, I did get to try out Mustang. I got to try out the Avenger, um, both of which were better than I expected, but still kind of eh.
Yeah, I really liked the Mustang. I thought that was a lot of fun to fly.
Well, it's got
Although
good
I flew the
maneuverability
Delta.
for sure.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
got great maneuverability. Feels a little squishy, but
yeah.
that's what it is. I mean, that's the ship it is.
Right.
So yeah. So let's talk about the design post that came out, the weapon mount changes. This was something we wanted to talk about last week, but hadn't come out yet. So
Yeah.
this sounds kind
Here we
of
go.
interesting. So with 1.1, weapons and their hard points are going to be changing. So what does that mean? Was kind of the okay. So they've kind of recategorized their weapon sizes and how those work, and they're changing from their old naming system to a new one, which is three key pieces of info. You're going to have type, size, and pipe. So type and size, you're kind of self-explanatory, you know. Sizes will range from size 1, which is 1 meter, to size 10, which is 40 meters. So a size 10 would be on like a Bengal carrier, for example, and a size 1 would be on like the Merlin. Um,
Woo. That's a big gun. 40 meters. Woo.
I don't want to get
Woo.
shot by that,
Nobody wants to get shot by that.
but I do want to fire one. So hopefully in
Right?
Squadron 42, they're like, hop in the main turret. Okay,
Yeah.
goodbye.
Be like some of those missions in Halo where they just put you in a big turret and just let you go to town, even though you
Yeah,
had no chance of actually losing the battle because you were in the big turret. They're like, no, we know you just want to do this for
yeah,
fun.
because why not? Or like in Modern Warfare 2, when you're in that AC-130 shooting from
Oh,
above, like
yes.
God.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a great mission.
Yeah, it's like I could blow up the whole goddamn world with this thing. Yeah, it's one of those situations. So, you know, size, there you go. Type, you obviously got ballistic, energy, etc. I mean, that those two are self-explanatory. Pipe was the one that's kind of the most interesting and at the same time gonna probably cause the most confusion, I feel.
Yeah.
So like pipe is essentially what connects the item that you're installing to the ship. So there's going to be multiple types of pipes, like you'll have a power or data or heat, and these will hook up to whatever you're trying to install there. So like if you want an auto targeting turret was their example, you would need power, data, heat, hookup pipes in order to attach the turret to that location. So without all
Yep.
those pipes, it won't be able to be attached or it won't work. So
Correct. Yep.
hopefully that makes sense. It kind of does to me, but like until we find out more about what types of pipes there are and what type of equipment will go where, you know, I think it's just going to confuse a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's fairly complicated on the surface, but I think once, it's out and people
Especially like
experience it,
color
it'll be
coordination will probably be the key factor. Like,
yeah.
all right, this thing needs a red and a yellow. Oh, that's a blue and a green. I can't put it in here, you know, that type of
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Um, and then the next thing they talked about was the size revamp with the gimbals and all of that. So this is kind of one of those things where Chris Roberts had to like do a separate post himself just to help explain it. So hopefully this will make sense when I talk about it. That said, I don't make any promises, and if you end up being more confused, you're welcome. So the way that gimbals work is essentially you can attach a gimbal to the same sized port. So let's say you have a size 2 weapon port, you can attach a size 2 gimbal or a size 2 weapon. If you attach a size 2 gimbal, then that gimbal would only be able to hold a size 1 weapon because it will always go down one. So size 2 port, size 2 gimbal, size 1 weapon. If it's a size 3 port, size 2 gimbal, you could have size 1 weapon. Yeah. Or you could have a
Right.
size 3 gimbal with a size 2 weapon. Or a
Right.
size 3 gimbal with, you know, two size 1 weapons. You know.
Yep.
So it kind of depends on the type of gimbal too. So like some gimbals, you could have a turret that holds a size 2 gun or two size 1 guns. You know, it depends on the type. So
Yep.
it's gonna be super complicated until you realize what he's talking about, and then it's like, oh, of course. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, and they weren't kidding when they said throw everything you know about
What's going on?
weapon,
Yeah.
just throw it out the window. Just
Yeah.
forget it.
Forget it.
It's all
It's
different.
all doesn't work. Yeah.
And that's fine. This actually, to me, makes a lot more sense.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the
And I
old
think it's gonna
system
be
was
better
very weird.
balanced for sure.
I absolutely agree with you on that too.
Hmm.
Because the old system was really weird. It was like, okay, class ones are normal small guns. Class 2s are like bigger guns. Class 3s are like turreted guns, and Class 5s are like man turret guns. It's just like, okay, what? Hold on.
What do you
Wait. This makes no
in
sense.
English, please? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This makes a ton of sense.
So one more thing that they talked about then was man turrets. So if you have a man turret, you're going to lose one more size point for what you can put in it. So the smallest size turret you could possibly have is a size 3, which would then only be able to use a size 1 gun in there. So
Right.
because it's a size 3 man turret, you go down a size, which makes it a size 2. And, because it's that gimbal again, it can only use a size 1 gun. So they did mention that on the Retaliator, those are size 4 turrets using two size 1 guns, and that's why they can get away with it.
Yep,
So,
that makes sense. Yeah.
other things that will limit kind of what you can put where is power and data limits. So, let's say you've got all gimbaled everywhere, but your data computer sucks, or your power can't possibly handle that many guns. That will limit, what you can load out and run as well. So,
Right.
a lot of room for expanding chips in here. So, like outfitting the best power plant, outfitting the best targeting computer, then you can put on the awesome guns.
Yeah. And I think interestingly enough, this actually is going to increase the flexibility of your builds on your ships
Yeah.
because you could be like, all right, I've got a size 3, turret on the front. I'm just going to put a big gun on it that sucks up most of my power and data, and I'm just going to rely on that because I'm a damn good shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Or
I like it.
or it will limit the amount of weapons you put on because you want to be a little faster, or you want stronger shields, or however.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. And then if you don't care about any of this, just buy a stock ship and not care. It's. I did like that they were also talking about how you can kind of with your loadouts also like tweak stuff too. So you could have, like this gun we're going to give a power cap to. These thrusters we're only going to let operate at 60%. It's going to be kind of
Right.
interesting when they put all that in. All right, and then they had behind the scenes, their size is kind of for each of these weapons is going to be correlated to the volume more than the actual dimensions of like length and width and all that. So they have a volume that these sizes can fit. And that's kind of what they're going by instead.
Yeah.
So cool. And there's a lot more to it, but I'm not gonna get into any of that. So if you care and it sounds interesting, feel free to read up on it.
Yeah, we really covered the most important aspects of it, so.
Yeah. Well, and then let's talk about Inside CIG, the music of Pedro Camacho. So
Macho.
this I feel like is probably something that you like EP'd over
Macho.
because I know how much of a music nerd you are.
Yes, yes. This was a sweet post. This was really really cool. I you know I was really into music. I still play my oboe in the local city band that I'm in. I love
Nerd.
music. I almost majored in music in college.
And then he
So,
remembered
yes,
he actually
I'm a
wanted
nerd.
to make money.
This is
And then
relatively
didn't
true.
use that degree either.
Yeah, no, there were other factors at play, but you're right.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
But no, this was really nice. It was a nice video. The music's fantastic. So first of all, this guy really knows what he's doing. Like this is a fantastic composer they found. The music fits the atmosphere really well. So I'm done gushing. Continue.
So Pedro is the composer of Star Citizen. He's done the main theme, and it sounds like it's already been performed by an orchestra, and they kind of had it playing in the background of the video too, so you could hear it. And I thought it was, yeah, that's a pretty solid main theme of anything, that they got going on. So
Yep.
cool. He also did several of the commercials in the background, like the Misk Freelancer, the Hornet commercial, the Mustang commercial. I think he did too. Couple others.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
one thing that they were talking about, which I was kind of, oh, that's such a good idea, is that they're going to put music in the game, right? So, like, they'll have a racing soundtrack. And then they'll kind of, like, just release that to the wild and be like, hey, remix this. Give us something awesome, submit it, and, we'll take the best, and then we'll put that in a racing mode of the game. So, if they're planning to do that with all the music that he's composing, that's just going to get freaking cool, I feel like.
Yeah, there's gonna be some crazy awesome stuff that comes out of that. I mean, I'm
Oh
half
yeah.
tempted to, bust out my virtual synthesizer and try to put something together myself and try to recreate some of my old college days where I was mixing and making music. But we'll see. I don't know how ambitious I am.
I just don't want EDM everywhere. That's the only thing I don't want.
Well, yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
not big into that. Like, what I really like to do is, if I do it, I'm gonna take the core orchestral music that he does, and I'm going to use nothing but that for my sampling. I'm not going to add other sounds in. I'm not going to add other electronics in, other bass wub wub wubs in, all that stuff. I would actually take the orchestral music and use that as my sampling and like cut and paste pieces of it to kind of make it almost sound electronic. You know what I mean? Without it actually being electronic. Does that make sense?
No, but continue.
No,
No, it
well,
makes sense. I'm just giving.
okay.
I'm biting your ball.
Yeah, well, thanks. No, but that's what I would do. I would kind of, I did this with Vivaldi's Winter way back when, and like I told my professor that I was gonna make a techno remix of Vivaldi using this technique, and he like looked at me. He's like, "I'm gonna fail you if this doesn't work." That's literally what he said. And I was like, "Oh, well, this is gonna work," and I did it. And he's like, "I didn't think that was possible. Good job." And I got an A. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm awesome."
Good story.
Good story.
Any story you end with, yeah, I'm awesome,
Yeah, I'm
is always
awesome.
a good story.
I felt like that story was way better than my KPI story, so I had to make up for it.
Oh, okay. Well, and then last thing about music before we move on was they're actually trying to design the music so it will kind of respond and adapt to what the players are doing in game. So like if you're boring flying around in the middle of space, it's not going to be exciting. But like if you're in the middle of a battle, it'll be like this upbeat tempo and all of that. So cool.
This is probably the coolest thing of everything that they talked about. This is really ambitious and awesome. This is something I have like dreamed of having in a game because like,
You,
when you're flying,
yeah.
you like, you want to put cool music in the background while you're doing it, but like there'll be times you're not really doing anything and you got like awesome, bombastic, cool, fun music going and you're just like not paying attention to it and it doesn't fit and you're like I want to get hyped and fired up,
Get
but
hyped.
right, but it's kind of pointless too right now. And then when you
Yeah.
get to the hype, the exciting moments, and you're like, oh,
Well,
I was
the
just
only
listening
time
to
they can
this.
really do that in games is when you've got the specifically designed story sections, and then they do
Exactly.
that, where it's like, oh, this is going to be this cue, and now we do the awesome music because this is going on. So,
Right, and that's why this is such a cool thing to me that it's going to be
yeah.
dynamic.
Well, the what I would do is if I was rich and had unlimited money, is I'd just hire John Williams with like an orchestra to
Yeah.
play behind me as I'm gaming.
Yeah. Well.
There you
Yeah.
go.
He's the best composer alive.
I'm just
So
saying that would be what I would do if I had unlimited wealth and resources.
I would too.
Yeah. So let's cut to Star Citizen South by Southwest video montage, or as I like to call it, porn for nerds.
Montage.
Montage, you like that? Not montage, montage.
I guess.
Yes, I'm glad you caught that.
Uh,
Anyway, or as I like to call it, porn for nerds.
yes.
Get hyped. Again,
Woo.
get hyped. Ah.
Okay.
So some highlights from the video montage was we had FPS Gold Horizon gameplay where you have some dropping of cover shields, you've got like some looking down sights, you see some electric shotgun action, there's all this really cool looking stuff going on. So,
Yeah.
yay. I
Pew pew.
uh
It looks so good.
I want to play it right now.
I
Why
know.
why the hell
I
is
do
it not
too.
out right now and why
I think we gotta wait till April.
Yeah. Well, then we have the persistent universe environment they showed some of, especially a lot of Arc Corp. Holy
Yep.
crap. It looks
Yeah.
so good with all the NPCs and stuff.
It does.
Like, they started out at Dumpers Depot, which we'd kind of seen before with their walkthrough, and like it was full of NPCs doing stuff, and like in the background, the Hornet was being disassembled, and NPCs were like moving cargo and stuff. It looks so cool. Like,
It does.
uh, Man. Well, and then we had the G-Lock bar, which was right after that, and there were some cops arresting somebody outside, and it was like raining and stuff, and like they threw him against the wall, and like they're tying his hands together, and then you like go inside, and bartenders there, and all these patrons drinking and doing stuff. Oh,
Very noir. I liked it.
yeah, it was very cool looking. Then they also showed like the exterior, which we'd seen during the daytime, and it was like nighttime and rainy, and like not a lot of people were around. So obviously the NPCs are going to be affected by the weather. Is kind of what they're implying there. So if it's
Which was
raining,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
if it's raining, they're not going to stand out in the rain. They're going to go inside.
sure.
Which is like, yeah, of course, why not? Yeah,
I know. I didn't even thought of that. I was like, oh
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I knew they were doing that with like the day-night cycle because they'd mentioned that, but it also makes sense
Yes.
that they're doing it with the weather too. So
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. Well, and then they also had the hospital, which I think they just called the med unit. You know, waking up there on a gurney, hospital sounds in the background. Not a lot shown there, but I mean, it's a hospital. How exciting can you make it, really? Yeah. Then they went from there to Cubby Blast, which is the weapon store, showroom,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Showed like checking out weapons, like the guy was holding the gun and like turning around in his hands and inspecting it, all that. Um, which is cool.
It
Hopefully
was.
that's like I hope that's like something you can do. Like you can inspect the gun and like look at and hold it and see how it looks, and then I know when you purchase it, it kind of magically appears in your hangar, like they shipped it there. But still, it's cool that you can check that out in the store itself.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it. It'd be fun to like go into third person in the store and like flip the gun around in your hands and
Oh
look
yeah.
down the sights and like crouch with
Well,
it. You know.
and let's be honest, we're all vain, shallow people that like cool stuff. So if like it looks stupid when we equip it, we're not gonna buy it. We're gonna get the gun that looks cool when we equip it too, if they're about the same stats.
Yeah, this is absolutely true.
Yeah. Well, well, and then the last one they showed was Astra Armada, which is the high-end spaceship buying place. And they actually showed like buying a Cutlass there, and then going and gaining your Cutlass for the first time and taking off and all that, which was very much supposed to like invoke feelings of, oh, this is awesome and I want to do it right now, which I feel like they succeeded, and it's awesome and I want to do it right
Because
now.
that's how you felt.
Yeah, I'm just saying, good job.
It felt a little too car dealership for me. No, I'm kidding. I actually loved
I,
it.
I was ready to hop in my car, drive the 2 hours it takes me to get to your place just to punch you in the face from that comment. Just saying.
Well,
Terrible comment. Never make it again.
just if you're gonna punch me, just not the face. That's the moneymaker. All right.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I say that on a podcast. My face is the moneymaker.
You have a face for podcasts. It's so mean.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
mean.
so good. It's still hilarious.
I also have a face for podcasts. Now I feel better. Now that I've
You know
self-deprecated
what? I'm just
myself.
gonna call it right now. That's up there right now for me on the title name for this episode.
You have a face for
Like-
podcasts?
Yes.
All right. I'll consider it. All
All
right.
right.
Moving on. Galactic Guide Helios System, which sounds like where I'm going to be hanging out at least some of my time at, because it
Yeah.
really, really sounded cool.
Yeah.
So the Helios system is several planets. The star is a helium strong type B star, which I'm like, I don't fucking know what that means, frankly, but
You know what? I
I'll
don't
believe
either.
him. The coolest feature of this star is you can apparently hide in like the EM wake of the ship, and it would even hide like capital ships. So I'm thinking this is going to be like let's hide out to like have some sort of clandestine secret meetings, that type of thing. So
Yeah,
cool.
it could be really interesting.
Another thing was because of the star's weirdness, they have all these platforms and labs that people use to study it, so that are going to be orbiting it, and some of them are abandoned, and some of them are like, oh, we're just going to throw it into the sun. So I wonder if like we could claim one and just kind of keep our own platform in Helios, and hide it in the AM field so nobody can find it.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what they're kind of going for.
Yeah.
This will be a place where you can get and hold your space stations.
Several of the things they mentioned about the system made me go, oh, that's totally going to be like a mission in Squadron 42. Like, as they're mentioning, so I'm like, we're going here in Squadron 42, totally can tell.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's talk about Helios 1, the least interesting of the planets. It's got no atmosphere, and the only noteworthy thing that apparently happened there was in 2937 when some scientists crashed on it and they had to be saved by the local gladiator garrison. So,
Way to go.
good
Way
job,
to go,
Helios 1.
scientists.
I think we just, ignore Helios 1 until we find out the secret ancient alien artifact is located under the surface there, and we gotta totally get it.
That's why they sent almost 3,000 scientists there. Duh.
For Helios 1?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
To
okay.
find the that's the secret. That's the conspiracy, dude.
Oh, really?
That's why else would they send 3,000 scientists to a completely, otherwise
No, no, no.
unnoteworthy planet?
2937 is the year, not the number of scientists.
Oh,
It was like
that's
six
not a number of
scientists.
scientists.
No, that's the
Oh,
year. I apologize.
oh.
Yeah.
Well, still 6 scientists. That's too many. No, I'm just kidding. See, I was
So,
totally confused.
I think you missed the in 2937.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I missed that. Wow,
Wow.
wow. I'm good at reading comprehension.
I was kind of like, wow. Okay, so 20.
I'm,
All right.
I blame it on me being sick. That's what happened.
Okay, moving on. Just moving on. So we had Helios 2, which is also called Tangaroa. I'm probably butchering that. Don't care. That's the main kind of settlement world of the system. It's an oceanic world with a greater circumference than Earth, but it's also got a lower gravity than Earth. So, you know, okay.
Nice.
There's a moon that's fast orbiting around it with a nickel iron core, which causes frequent volcanic activity and massive tidal waves. So, cool. uh, the polar regions are like the only sustained population sections. The south polar region is kind of like this military base, and then the north is kind of like where all the scientists and merchants and people like that hang out. It's also like where the capital city of Mariana is located, and the natives
Sure.
just call it Shorebreak. Um,
Sure.
Interesting thing of note is a guy named Tyler Newman is going to be building an undersea hotel. So I wonder if like that's something we can help him accomplish in game. Oh, my
Yeah,
hotel needs this. Okay, we've delivered that. Now my hotel needs this, and then like after a while, okay, the hotel's built, and you guys can come visit it.
that'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is twofold. So first of all, why do they not take the obvious cool thing and name him Captain Murphy? Right. Okay.
Under the sea. Yeah.
C Lab 2021 fans, you'll appreciate that. My other question is did we send 3,000 scientists to this planet?
Probably. What about chainsaw hands? We could build a giant barbopot. Zzz.
We can only hope.
that
I would kill for chainsaw hands in this game. I couldn't fly a ship, but hey, pirates beware! You try to board my friendship.
giant laser eyes and the strength of 10 gorillas. Oh man.
I love that show.
Well, and then you also have the native subsurfers surf the waves, so that would be cool if you can do that. Like you
Yeah,
rent a submarine and you go surf waves.
they're pretty fun.
That'd be totally worth it. I doubt they'll have that at the start, but hopefully eventually. Hopefully that's like a competition, is like surfing the biggest
Ooh.
wave for the longest time, and like you make a record and like your name's in a plaque or something.
I would totally be down with that.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. Then in orbit of Helios 2, we have Hephaestus Station, which is a military outpost which you need special permission to land on. They do have like a landing area where apparently you can like trade and stuff like that. So, I wonder if that's another Squadron 42 thing, is you visit Hephaestus Station because you're going to be in the military.
Yeah,
So.
probably.
Then we have Helios 3, which is a gas giant and a decent source of hydrogen. So anybody who needs hydrogen, go to Helios 3. Then we also have Helios 4, which is an ice planet and a strategic quote-unquote military base, which has the rumor it's where careers go to die. And I'm like, oh, well, if that's where, we're starting on Helios 4 in Squadron 42. We totally are. We're going to be like the guy who, did something wrong with the admiral's daughter or something, and now,
Oh no.
we've been thrown to Helios 4. Or like, it's like Scotty from the new Star Trek movies, where like he like beamed an admiral's chihuahua and we still haven't found it, and so he gets, you're on the ice planet. Suck it, Scotty. So,
Suck it, Scotty. Wow.
Well, and then one thing though that they did mention about Helios 4 was it's a suspected front for a secret black ops base or military testing ground and all that junk. So I'm wondering if like that's how we get into Squadron 42, right? So we've like blown up the Admiral's cat, and then we went to Helios 4, right?
Right.
And then like we're chilling around, we're like, oh, Helios 4 sucks, life just sucks, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden there's like an explosion or something in the black ops base, and we go down to investigate, and like there's all these vandal everywhere, and we like kill one, but one escapes with like this secret technology that we have to then go hunt. Whole blown out. I've thought about this clearly way too much.
I that's what I was just about to say. Actually, I was about to say that.
But
Hey,
you
I
know,
spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Chris Roberts is probably going, God damn it, we got to change the story now. Because he's
Yeah.
listening to Flight Deck and he's like, that son of a bitch, he totally got an early version of my script or something.
We know from past experience that they do listen to our
Oh,
podcast and
clearly.
constantly
Yeah.
take our advice.
Oh, yeah.
So you're right. They're probably just like nodding
Yeah.
their heads as you were saying that, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
really good, man.
Yep.
That's really good.
Totally. Yep. Anyway, moving on.
Wow.
So that's it for the Helios system. I definitely want to hang out there. I don't know like how great it's going to be for like doing stuff. I think it depends on like where it's located. If it's in the
Yeah.
middle of a bunch of nice stuff, or if it's kind of off in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we still don't technically have the official locations of systems and stuff like that. I mean, we have a general idea, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, there's some people that have done some like fan theory maps too. So
right.
I didn't look at where Helios was located on those.
Yeah, you never know.
So let's cut to 10 for the Producers, episode 4. This one was 24 minutes and 26 seconds long. Some interesting questions.
Yeah.
Not, you know, yeah. Let's
was
get
alright.
into well, let's get into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have bugs and features prioritization. This was like essentially how do you determine what you guys are going to be working on when. Um, so essentially it boiled down to balancing issues and like new features kind of have the highest priority, and then like everything else is just kind of whenever we can fit it in the iterative process.
Right.
So, this new cool thing we want to add with this patch, well, let's make sure that works. This thing's game breaking, let's fix that. Those are the
Right.
things that they always go for first.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Second question was how do ship changes occur in engine? So like that would be you want to change like a loadout or you want to change like a weapon, and like if you're doing something like that, how's it going to affect all the other ships? So like let's say you change this weapon for this ship to make it work better, like what happens to all the other ships that you've now changed, or you've changed the thrust capacity of this type of engine, that type of thing. Um, so it sounds like they have a lot of different ways to affect individual ships, but not affect others. Like they can tune how much power it's got, how much thrusters it uses, what's its center of mass, that type of thing. Um, which it also sounds like this is going to be some of those stuff available to players eventually, so you can determine how much power your thrusters use and that type of thing too, with like an in-game tuning that will come into play eventually. So
Yeah, which is super cool.
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to run a loadout where I kill everything in a shot and don't have to worry about them shooting back. Okay, and you're dead in 2 minutes.
Wah wah.
Aw. Well, third question, pet projects. What are your pet projects? They're like, well, it's really boring stuff. One guy was like, I want to organize and change Jira to make it work better. And the other guy was like, I want to automate an invoice for outsourced artists. And it was like, oh no, it's not. Oh, we want to design a teleporter or something like that.
Right.
It's like, no, we want stuff that's actually going to help us do our jobs. So,
Right. Yeah, which made sense.
yeah.
I think the intent of the question was more like, what's your pet project for in game? And
Yeah, they're like, we don't really have those. We don't have time. Yeah.
yeah, Chris Roberts determines those.
It's like, I want to build a really cool jetpack that looks like Boba Fett and shoots a rocket. Don't have time. Sorry. Yeah. Um, and they also had the PvP mission creation. So, short version to this question was yes, it's going to happen where jobs can overlap between NPC jobs, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in PvP with another player. So, like, one guy is like attack this convoy, the other guy is like protect this convoy, and then there you go. Now you're in PvP with other players.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun because you
Super
never know
awesome.
when it's gonna be people and when it's gonna be AI for what missions you
Right?
accept.
Right? You're gonna be white knuckling it the whole time into
It's
the
like
job. You're like, all right, all right, all
just
right.
let's prepare for the worst, and when it's easy and AI, just be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it's easy and human, be even happier.
Oh yeah, too. Yeah. Well, and then we also have player-run radio stations, which I thought was a great idea. Frankly, like it's not going to be something that they have an initial launch, but it is kind of something that they had in their heads already that they kind of want to have like in fiction media that players can affect.
Yeah.
Um, so I would love to have like various radio stations that you could kind of tune into that are player run. Like we're on our Drake Herald and we're broadcasting, on this frequency, this music compilation. I don't know if they'll be able to do that, but it'd be cool if they could.
Yeah, well, I remember a couple weeks ago, Chris Roberts was talking about having, being able to upload your own music to your hangars and whether or not other people would be able to hear it while they're in your hangar. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
and it
this kind
didn't.
of
Yeah,
is a similar thing where he's kind of like, yeah, I'd like to do it,
but we're not sure about
but
licensing and all that stuff. Yeah,
right, exactly. And don't get me wrong, player run radio stations would be super fun, and I would
right.
probably listen to those exclusively in game.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of questions that go with that. But hopefully they can make it work.
Well, like if they could partner with iTunes or like Pandora or something, and do it that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'd have to be something like Pandora.
yeah. That would be so cool, man. Not gonna happen. I don't feel like, guys. I'm sorry.
No.
I just
Yeah,
see too many problems with it. I don't think it's going to happen.
I feel the same way. I mean, just look at what happened with Twitch recently.
Oh yeah.
Where if you have copyrighted music playing,
Boom.
then
Axed.
boom, screw your video's done.
Yep. Which is why I just like swear and like talk during my videos now
Yeah, I don't listen to music.
instead of having the cool music. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and then after that they were asking about decoupled flight, which kind of confused me, but it sounded like they wanted like more involved decoupled flight than we already got, which I thought decoupled flight worked pretty well. I just rarely do it because I suck at it, you know. So, but I don't know what changes are coming into play aside from the HUD ones that they mentioned. Like it didn't sound
Yeah,
like it'd be very different from how it is now.
I didn't I didn't really get this question. I must have been missing something. I I thought decoupled worked the way it should, but I don't
Well,
know.
so
I
like the
must.
flying mechanic I think works, but they want to do like HUD changes, so like it shows which
Oh,
direction you're traveling in the HUD as you're decoupled and stuff like that.
that's that's really hard to do. That's just going to add more clutter to the HUD. It's
Uh,
already a fairly cluttered HUD. I mean, if you need that to fly decoupled,
then
like
don't
just
fly decoupled.
practice,
Yeah.
or just practice. You'll get used to it. Just basically keep going the same direction that you were going.
The thing is, like, I
it's
feel with the fighters, we can't really Harrier mode that much because it just leaves us a sitting
oh
duck.
no,
Whereas,
everybody. You're right, and sorry to cut you off, but I find it like hilarious that one of the biggest complaints I see on the forums and mostly on the forums is that people are like, "Oh, lol, the Hornet's just a floating turret." It's like if you're just flying around as a floating turret, you're getting destroyed in Arena Commander right now. You just can't do that against good pilots. Like you're just like
listen,
yeah against
yeah,
bad pilots, but
especially
anyway,
with
sorry.
the. Well, I don't care. Go,
I'm done. Your
No,
turn.
I'm really broken up and shaken that you interrupted me.
Now
I don't
you're
know.
now you're really gonna drive the 2 hours over here to punch me.
Oh man, I don't know if I can continue now. I'm just so blah. Anyway, that's the thing too with the weapon changes. Like joystick pilots are going to start dominating. I feel like a lot
Yeah.
more until mouse pilots learn good setups and gimbals and all that. So
Right.
if you want to sit still against a joystick pilot who's got higher grade weapons than you, feel free.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and then we have the co-op versus AI and FPS, which was a great question. I actually wanted to know the answer to myself. And not when it releases was the short version, but it will be added eventually. And they are cognizant of the fact that like 80% of their player base, I don't know, 80% of their player base is currently playing single player or co-op Vandal Swarm when they're playing
Yep.
games. So
Yep.
yeah, there you go. shows you what it will probably be like in game too, is most people will probably just try to do the NPC combat and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. Then we also have the stock market for corporations question, which is kind of an idea they've been tossing around, but it's like it would involve a lot of balancing and making sure it's not exploited and so forth. So I don't know if they'll
Yeah,
actually do it.
that's tough to make work. I mean, Eve did something like that, and it was actually fairly well balanced for the most part. But
Till that one
I
guy
don't
made
know.
a killing with like
Well,
with trebles and such.
yeah, and there were occasionally, bugs and weird things you could exploit. So that's the real issue.
Right.
Um, but I don't know. I'm iffy on the stock market stuff. Like, there's already so much in this game. I just don't know that I.
Would have the time or care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, after 2 years and you become jaded and you're like, I'm looking for something new to do.
Stock
I'm
market.
I'm gonna go and work at the stock market in game.
uh,
God.
uh,
You're like, I hope not.
yeah, then the game isn't good. Like
Yeah.
that's just all there is to it.
Well, then we have improvised FPS weapons, which I hadn't really thought about, but yeah, it sounds like you can use non-standard items to actually hurt people in games, so like blowtorches and shovels or whatever.
Yeah, this is actually
I,
something I hadn't thought about either.
God, if I can run around in an FPS match with a shovel and get kills, oh, I will be
It's
the happiest man alive.
it's so tempting to just be like the number one shovel
Shoveler.
killer. Yeah, just be like I've got more shovel kills than anyone else.
It's
But
like
now,
William H. Macy's character from that one superhero movie, The Shoveler.
oh, from Mystery Men.
Mystery Man, there you go, yeah.
Exactly.
Another guy's running around as the invisible boy, he's just naked.
Yes, I love that movie.
Don't look at me. Well, then you have improvised, or I'm sorry, org logos and signs inside your ship was the last question. So it was kind of, you know, they already talked about doing some cockpit decorations, but it sounds like they're just going to do ship decorations, and then along with that, they still kind of have to determine what they're going to allow you to put up. Personally, I'm hoping it's just like all posters and stuff like that, or signs. You know, I don't want there to be player created content because that's just more for me to have to download when I'm visiting somebody's ship. You know?
Well, and it's hard to make that work in game because then everyone has to download it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally love cockpit decorations and that kind of thing. I want the hula girl dancing on my cockpit.
Fuzzy
Um,
dice, etc.
yeah, whatever. That's all cool, but I don't need player created stuff like that. That'll just add so much, and I mean, there'll be
Yeah.
such an insane amount of stuff. It just,
Like if it was a player created item that had like won a competition, like they take
yes,
the 10 best that are
yes.
voted on, sure, do it that way. But not like any random 13-year-old's fantasy action figure collection, you know.
The number of penises that would end up in this
Oh,
game
yeah.
would be astronomical.
It would make Superbad's ending scene look like a light amount of penises. Yeah. God.
That's a good. Yes. God.
Well, that's it for 10 for the producers. Overall,
Not bad.
not bad, not bad. Some good questions.
Worse.
And no
Yeah.
questions revolving around freaking can we use
Can,
our,
can,
our,
dude,
oh,
our NPCs. What can we do with them?
what can we do with them? We have multiple accounts. What
We
do I have to pay them? I mean, what if I log in?
Do I
It's,
have
it's okay. You don't have to pay me, right? God,
Uh, try not to cough right now.
I'm just waiting for the next question like that, and for us to just go nuts. We're gonna have like an hour long of just us tirading
Oh my
about
God.
that question.
And I'll let you lead the way on that because you were super amusing last week when you went off on that.
I don't even. I'm moving
All right,
on.
we're done. Moving
Next
on.
section. OP.NET manned turrets. So this is their first post dealing with speciesism directly. So okay, I honestly didn't care. Is it does it make me a bad person that I don't care about the rights of aliens?
Well,
The rights of
I
fictional aliens. I don't care about their
I
rights.
just didn't even like consider this would be a thing. Like,
How dare you
you've
refer
had
to it as manned? Yeah.
well, you've had turrets that have been manned by humanity for thousands of years. It's just the native language. It's not like
Hey,
intended to be
no,
specifically
no.
offensive, right?
It's
Like,
offensive because they're not called physically operated turrets. Okay? I know the
what if
words for
what?
all of those other aliens probably, they used the term physically operated turrets too to describe turrets
Well,
before.
well, well, what if you run across a telekinesis race, right? Like they can operate their turrets without physically being there. Then what are we gonna call them?
Now you're just being silly. So this was an in-fiction show talking about inverse news, and like it was they brought on a petition by the Non-Human Mercenary Alliance, or whatever the hell it was called, to rename manned turrets to be physically operated turrets, to be more understanding towards non-human mercenaries.
I
Uh,
mean, so
yeah, it was
my
weird.
actual yeah, it was.
I
But
totally feel like this. The thing is though, like as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, this would totally be like an actual thing that would happen. It was so
totally would.
stupid that it would almost have to exist.
Yeah, only it does mirror real life in some ways.
Oh yeah,
Um, but like my whole question with this was like, okay, so we only really know of the four races, right? We got humans, Xi'an,
five races:
Bandul, Tavarian, and who am I missing?
Banu, Xi'an,
Oh, Banu.
Vandu.
Sorry, Banu.
Yeah,
Banu. Banu was the one I missed.
yeah.
You're right. Five. So like the only ones we really get along with are like the Banu and the Xi'an.
Well, we get along with everybody but the Vandal because we pretty much conquered the Tavarian into subjugation.
Well, true.
So, till
Suck it,
till we
Tavarian.
find that hidden Tavarian homeworld that they keep mentioning, and
Yeah,
then we're at war with them again,
but
which would
still,
be
like,
sweet.
really, like this was. I don't know. I couldn't tell if this was facetious or not. You know what I
So,
mean?
like the big thing I got out of it is there's discrimination towards non-humans in the UEE, which I'm like,
Okay.
of course there is. We're
Sure.
humanity. If we're
Right.
not discriminating against somebody, we don't know what to do.
Yeah, we suck.
So, like, I totally believe that, and I totally think it will be a thing, and there'll be missions around it. That said, you gotta pick your battles, and calling them physical operated turrets is not a battle you want to have, right? Right?
I'm right there
Well,
with you.
here's the thing, like, when I hear stuff like this, where it's like, how dare you use that term? Well, what's your species term for turrets? You know? Do you
Right.
have a turret? Is this
Right.
something that your species didn't even encounter until you, like, we use all these words from other languages that aren't technically English words, but we
Oh,
use them
tons.
because that's the term for them, right?
Half of our
So,
language is French, like
exactly.
basically.
So, to me, it's not a big deal, and you need to
Yep.
grow the fuck
I don't.
up.
Yeah, I don't even know what the etymology of like turret is, for example. Like, I don't know where this word comes from. It
Tur-
could be like a racist word for,
Who
like
knows?
pizza. I don't know. Like,
Oh
you
man,
know?
don't be racist towards pizza, you
I'm
guys.
not.
Hasn't pizza been through enough?
It says it's pizza suffered enough.
Oh,
Uh,
anyway, so
we're done.
yeah,
Enough.
we're done. Enough. Moving on. So last video that I watched was the CIG Star System from South by Southwest. This is the one that Space Swim Chronicles posted. It's a 40-minute and 13-second video, and I have to say I wouldn't really recommend for people to watch it because
No.
for the most part it's Chris Roberts mentioning stuff that he's talked about several times before, and kind of
Yep.
like the people kissing Chris Roberts' butt, saying, "Oh, you're so awesome," and this is such a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, he is awesome, but like this is stuff we've heard for years now. It's nothing original. Um, and there's several like moments where the video kind of cuts out
Yeah.
for like a couple of seconds here and there. They showed some more in-hangar retaliator stuff, but if you've been watching YouTube, you've seen the hundreds of in-hangar retaliator videos, so you are intimately familiar with the retaliator at this point. And then
Yep.
they just showed some Super Hornet Vandal gameplay, which I was kind of like, oh, been there, done that.
Yeah. This one felt weird because a lot of the other like conventions that they've gone to and presentations that they've done have been new stuff, and they've kind of like kind of layered on top of that. Where this one was very broad, so I just kind of wonder like what the audience at this was like. Like, I feel like maybe they were
Well,
expecting the audience to not be super hardcore Star Citizen fans. You know
right.
what I
Well,
mean?
South by Southwest is like a much bigger venue
Oh,
too.
it's
Like
it's
it's
insane.
so it's
It's
not. They probably had a lot of people like this is their first experience looking at Star Citizen.
Yeah, and if that's the case, absolutely, I'm fine with what they did. And I even know there's like music at South by Southwest. There's music. There's
Oh yeah,
movies. Sorry,
music.
not music.
No,
Music,
music is like
movies.
the big draw for South by Southwest. I actually want to
Right.
go some year just to like catch as much music as I possibly can because there's so many different artists that show up.
Exactly. Right. So, and I think it makes sense. But like for you and me, like this video is kind of frustrating because
Oh
we're like,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the one thing I did like was at the end of the video where they did some community questions, so like
yes,
backers got up and talked. The first question about that was drones in the PU. How are they going to work? It sounds like their basic roles are going to be for like mining, repairing, loading and unloading cargo, that type of thing. So like you don't have to exit your ship; you can send your drone to do it, which
yay,
sounds a lot safer than getting out in
yeah.
like a spacesuit, and, like physically pushing in cargo and stuff into your freelancer's bay.
Safer but less awesome.
That's true. I don't know. What's more awesome, like flying around in a spacesuit outside or controlling a robot that does it? I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
I'm not the spacesuit all the way.
I don't know, man. Depends how cool the robot is.
Oh, if it's a Gundam, I mean, like, come on.
Well, I mean, that's like a whole other
That's
story.
different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, and then they had virtual reality and Arena Commander. This guy was asking on because he's like, "Hey, Chris Roberts, what's up? Can't use my Oculus anymore, dude. When you
Right?
fixing that?" And he's like, "Well, when we move over to CryEngine 3.7, it will pretty much work automatically because that's integrated in there. So wait for CryEngine 3.7 to be integrated, and then you'll have Oculus
Yay!
support again, boys." So that's cool.
Yay!
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was like, they never actually specifically answered why they completely dropped Oculus support, and this actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
know they're eventually going to get away from the CryEngine too, so when they do that, he was saying they're also going to be supporting as much as they can control and interface wise from there.
thank,
So,
thank God.
yeah. But I'm assuming that's like years away.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
totally is.
Yeah. Then another question was about player run servers and like, what are you going to allow them to do and stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you will have player run servers. You can do whatever you want, but good luck making it as awesome as the normal game." So I was
Right?
like, yeah.
Because I mean, you need a massive server cluster to like
Oh, to do anywhere near.
run a
Yeah.
fair amount of people, right? Because he was saying like, okay, you run your one server, well, you might get 100 people that can play on it at once.
That would like even that would be pushing it depending on the
Right.
server too. So
Exactly. Yep.
well, then we have alien artifacts. You did mention there's going to be a couple precursor civilizations too. So like maybe you'll have a salvaging mission where you find an alien artifact, you salvage it, then you got to spend like little mini campaign mission, like gain a scientist that can then backwards engineer it and then gain it, import it into a weapon, and then all of a sudden you got this really cool ancient civilization gun that you've built, which sounds to me like the
Haha.
most awesome thing ever, and I totally want to do it.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. Love to do that.
You find a ion cannon from a Y-shaped vessel's wreckage.
Like it.
I
You
like,
find
yeah.
a turbo class laser
From
from a destroyer of stars.
you find nanobots from a Borag cube.
Kube.
Cube?
Cube?
A Vorog cube. And all of a sudden you can like infect people and make them your slaves. That would be awesome. Actually, let's do
You
that.
would like that way too much.
I would like that way too much. I would infect everybody I possibly could and have like this massive hive armada and just like attack a system with it. That would
I
be all
kind
I
of
do.
like. I kind of like to see that happen, just so like like real world like virologists. I don't even know if that's the right word. People who study viruses could like use that to like predict how viruses are going to behave, just because of you.
No, because viruses are just like indiscriminate. I would distinctly go out of my way to attack the weakest and the most helpless.
Well, that sounds fairly reasonable. I mean, that's
Yeah,
evolution, right?
right, right, yeah.
Oh
Uh,
my
then
god.
after that, we had kind of a buzzkill question about content filters, which I'm like, I don't care if your child plays
Seriously,
this game, dude.
it's just I mean, come on. You know they're gonna have content filters. I mean, come
Yeah,
on. Every game has content filters these days. All of them.
and
Like
every
that are
game allows you
multiplayer.
to turn off like
Yes.
talking and ignore people
Yes.
and so forth. So
When's the last time you played something that wasn't on
it's like
Xbox
you,
Live where you could like filter people,
and even Xbox
right?
Live, you can like set it so you only talk to friends, which I totally did because
Right.
there's no, I'm antisocial. I don't need to talk to 13-year-olds and
Well,
let them
I
know that
just
I'm better
right.
than them.
Right. I don't need to listen to some 13-year-old tell me about things about my mom that I don't need to hear about. Like it's pointless. Like just
Or,
shut up, kid.
and you don't need to know the difference between apples and oranges. I mean, come on.
Oh my god.
Inside joke can,
Super inside
can
joke. We're
never
done.
be
We're
repeated.
done. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh god. Nope.
And then,
God.
very last question. You're sitting there, you've finally got everything working, Chris Roberts, and you're going to be flying for the very first time. What is the song you're going to listen to? And he's like,
Another important question.
well, he's like, you know what? I hadn't really thought about that. And in my head, I'm like, well, of course, because it's a stupid question. And he's like, no, I guess Danger Zone. I'm like, okay,
Danger zone.
Danger Zone. Oh man. You know, on the one hand, it's an entertaining question, so I can't really fault him. But on the other hand, like, there's so much you want to know. You ask that,
Yeah,
that and the
it's not
content
a.
question.
It just sucks because it was the last question, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, if he would have more time for more questions, this would have been hilarious, and I wouldn't be as like upset about it.
I'm not really upset about it. I just thought it was stupid.
Well, yeah, I'm not. When I
And
say
I
upset, I
can't
mean
say
like
I can't really say I
that's
thought it
too
was
strong of
stupid
a
either.
word.
I'm just like I felt it was a missed opportunity. Is how I'm going to word
Yes,
this.
right. I
So,
mean, if it's me up there, I have a list of like 3 questions where I'm like, no, we're dragging this thing out for another 20
you
minutes. Like,
better answer this to my satisfaction, or I'm not going away.
security's gonna have to drag me out.
You're like, but seriously, what about using your other accounts as crew?
Oh my god. You know, we got to bring it back to that again.
Oh, always. That's gonna be my thing for a while until I forget about it.
All right, so you know what? Let's just take a second to step back
Okay.
and let's ask ourselves, what song are we going to listen to
Oh,
for the first time we play the game when it's officially released? What is your song going to be? I'm
whatever the
curious.
in-game music is, because I'm not going to be listening.
Okay.
I don't want to miss something. You know,
Okay.
like if you're
That's
sitting
fair.
there and like you're playing this for the very first time, I don't want to have like Disturbed or something like that in the background. You know,
Get down with the sickness,
Get Down with the
motherfucker.
Sickness or Stupefy or something like that going in the background because I don't want to miss what's actually happening because there's going to be the intro, there's going to be all this in-game talking, there's going to be all this in-game music, all these in-game sounds. I don't want to miss any of that. Why would I want to miss that to listen to a song I've heard before?
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Except I gotta disagree. I
Of,
mean, for
of
me,
course you got to disagree. That's you.
that's you too. Shut up. So, so the first thing that I'm going to be listening to when I play this game, when it's official release, we're past alpha, we're past beta, we have the official PU.
Hyuna ice cream? Is that what you're going to do?
No, God,
Psy Gangnam Style?
no. Okay, I'm being serious here. Shut up.
Oh, I was being serious with my guesses.
I know. Shut up. I cannot tell you to shut up enough. All right. No, I'm thinking Ride of the Valkyries. You
Oh,
just you gotta get your Apocalypse Now
no,
on. You just gotta feel like
no,
you're better than everybody. Screw these Vietnamese
no.
peasants.
How can you shoot women and children easy? You don't lead them as much. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
no.
That's that Vietnam quote that they put in
That's right.
Full Metal Jacket. Yeah,
Full Metal Jacket. Did they do that one? Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And that was like a legit quote. That's how horrible a person you are right now, is you're making me remember terrible stuff like that.
Those movies are meant to be terrible. Like they're awful. Like I mean, between Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, and Apocalypse Now, like you watch all three of those, and you're just
You're
like,
like,
wow,
wow,
people suck.
yep.
Like holy crap. Uh,
Now, here's why I'm going to disagree on Ride of the Valkyries. The reason you can't do that for the very first thing is you got to wait until that first moment when you attack somebody.
oh,
Then you crank Ride of the
okay,
Valkyries, and then it's all
okay.
good.
I like where you're going. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Otherwise, you're wasting Ride of the Valkyries for like what could be just you going up of an elevator or some other weird random intro that they always do with these. You know,
fair enough. Fair
it's like
enough.
da da da
I
da
take that.
da 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 da, and you're just—it's like your elevator music. Could you imagine? You have like 6 floors. It's da 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 da.
You know, you're right in a way. You know, I just kind of assumed it was like the first time I got into anything like combat
Okay,
oriented,
all
if that
right,
makes sense. But
yeah.
you're right. It would not make sense for me to be like going into my hangar and getting to my ship and be like ba 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 da ba. Like,
And like it slowly lifts up to the top deck, and then you finally launch, and you're just flying around normal, and you're just like ba 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 da da.
well, that was anticlimactic.
Exactly, it would be boring. Now we're going to learn how to fly because this is the tutorial mission of the single player. You know,
Shit.
and you're like, no, fly to this nav point. Da 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 da. You're like, kill me.
Kill me now. I made this worse.
Yeah,
All right. Well, that's
yeah,
like all the Star
that's
Citizen stuff we have, which
it was a lot. Like
was a
always.
lot.
I mean, I'm thinking it will die down now that South by Southwest is winding down. And
Please.
it'll pick up like when the FPS comes out, of course.
Oh yeah.
And then it'll pick up again when the social module comes out. But then, like after that, it will be like a nice lull for a couple of months before they have the multi-crew.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling too. I mean, this is a big time for them, especially because of the FPS.
Well, and
Um,
PAX and South by Southwest. I mean, that's two
right,
big
those are huge
events.
events.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, ramping up for the FPS, I think, is actually going to attract a lot of new players because if the FPS is solid and refined and palatable, it'll be this. It will literally double the number of people who play this game.
Yeah.
I think.
If
I,
it's
I'm
if it's good enough. I'm not sure
yeah
that it's robust enough to make people go, "Wow, this is the best ever." And there's going to be some tweaks that need to happen, I think, to the aiming system because it doesn't seem good enough. That
yep
said, we'll see. Yeah.
yeah. I agree with you. I think to start out with, it won't be what we're really looking for in the end game. But that being said, like I think they know what they're doing. I like Ilphonic. I like what they say, what they think so far. So we'll see. Anyway,
Yeah. Cool. Well,
yeah, cool.
that is it for this week's episode of the Flight Deck. We will catch you guys next week.
Peace.